I'm in mourning, although that might not even be the emotion that a majority of our listenership feels. I think it might be. I think it's anger. If I'm going to be honest, I think it's anger out there in Texan land.
It's anger, and it's anger at one person, and I don't think it's even unfair. I really don't. This was a championship-level defense that performed at a championship level again. The story now and for the next several months, really into next season, going into the postseason next season, if they go to the postseason again, it's still going to be C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud, there's no more defending him. No more, yeah, but, he does have these throws in him, and he has made these plays. For the first time ever, I'm not sure C.J. Stroud has it in him or ever will have it in him to be a championship-level quarterback. That's how bad yesterday was. And I'm not, trying. It's not like just the anger of the moment and the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 interceptions, gets you in a certain place where you're just mad. No, I think it was loud and clear, man. I think it was very vivid. There is something about C.J. Stroud that just isn't it. It just isn't it. I mean, maybe it'll change, but that alone, hoping for change, is just hope at this point.
Yeah, hope isn't a game plan. Hope isn't a strategy. But let's dig into it. And I have to start by also saying Happy Martin Luther King Day as we go ahead and eviscerate the black quarterback here. But no, I think the thing I will implore you. Actually, that's not fair because it's a reaction Monday. It's the day in which everybody wants to have their emotions. I'll say we will try and have more level conversation, and we'll try and have a level conversation here amongst ourselves inherently. We got a whole week. We got a whole off season to have like the larger conversations. I kind of want to stick to how you felt about this game, where you feel about CJ in this moment. And so I want to allow room for everybody to be a little bit reactionary. But I try and fight being reactionary. I hear, and I very much felt viscerally, everybody who goes, CJ isn't it, I don't need to see him ever again. I feel that. It was an abysmal game. I don't even know. I need to break out the thesaurus, there we go, to find the right word that captures just how bad of a performance that was without having to do but there were some good things in there. No. If you wanted to find a single solitary reason why this game was lost, you have to look no further than C.J. Stroud wearing number 7 there. The thing that is tough for me, though, is I end up being susceptible to the thought of, all right, the pieces are there. You got to put it all together. Except this was a game in which we thought he would only do this once. Just this is so anomalous, the type of play from who he has been, that it makes me ponder like everything I know and everything I hold to be dear. Right? Like this is a quarterback that we've seen protect the football relatively recently. This is a quarterback that we've seen make the throws that he was constantly missing, throwing behind people. A dude that at one point had been talked about as an incredibly accurate, ball placement specialist type quarterback. You couldn't get anywhere close to calling him that in that game, to the point where he got dudes injured with how poorly he was throwing the football.
Yeah,
in this game.
He got dudes injured. He's going to get people fired. That's the double whammy right there. I mean, there will be firings over there. We'll get to that at some point. But let me just tell you why I think, it's one thing for you and me and Figgy and our listeners to say, yeah, I don't think he's the guy. They're thinking about that in there. No matter what they say post game, no matter how they diligent and sort of just straightforward and try to be, they're wondering in NRG, is he the guy? If they're not doing their job. So the fact that we can say he was that bad, we can say I'm not sure he has it in to be a championship level quarterback, that we can say there's no defending him, that's one thing. But how are they going to defend him in there? Not just the front office, not just coaches, but his teammates. I know Will Anderson said his thing. We'll hear from that later. But in their heart of hearts collectively, I don't see how they can feel he's the guy.
It's funny you say that because this was DeMeco Ryans after the game, and I was very curious to listen to post game because DeMeco Ryans tends to be who he is, and DeMeco Ryans is a very positive, very rah-rah like that's. And I don't say rah-rah in a pejorative way or to try and like demean him, because I do think that he believes in. He's very much a I need to uplift type of guy. But I was intrigued to hear the way that he would talk about his quarterback in what was a terrible, awful, no good game. Afterwards, that this is what he said about what he said to CJ after the game.
Keep your head up. I love you. Like, I got your back. And that's what I told him at halftime. This whole team has your back. Like, we're in this thing together from day one. Like, it doesn't change for me. Like, we have a really special group, a tight-knit group. When things don't go your way, you have bad performances. It's not a time to point fingers or say it's on one person. If anybody, it all starts with me. For me, as the head coach of this team, we didn't perform well. Obviously, I didn't have it ready to go in this moment. So that starts with me. We stick together.
That can't be true. It shouldn't be true. It should not be true. You're the head coach and your quarterback. By the way, it wasn't a performance. It was performances, plural.
Yeah,
in the postseason.
You got the benefit of, in spite of his performance last week.
Yeah.
Or maybe you could say that there was he at least made some place to redeem at least some portions of it in Pittsburgh. There was none of that in this game. It got worse in a way that was weird. And the reason why this frustrated me to no end, one, is because I don't like being wrong. And we spent all of last week talking about that felt like an anomaly. He should bounce back. He did not bounce back, and I know that some people, very small portion of people, will say, well, there was the snow, maybe that affected it. It was one of the questions I asked, like, how much was the cold? I don't think any of those things are there. We've seen him make those throws before. We've seen him protect the football in this system before. It feels like it's between the ears.
It is.
John Lopez.
It is.
But the between the ears gets tough because that's not something you could see. That's not something you can MRI. That's not something that you can, do some imaging on to get a figure of. This is something that's really hard to diagnose. The thing that I felt most comfortable being able to say about C.J. Stroud's between the ears is all his play felt very much like a lack of trust. It's something that it's kind of been an undercurrent of things that we've talked about in this season with C.J. Stroud. Is he going to buy into what this offense is asking? And after times of feeling like he had done that, this felt like a complete rejection of what this offense was. It felt like he was trying so hard to make things happen. And with this, we could track this back to last week as well in Pittsburgh. Some of these things where he's allowing the pressure to get to him, hitting him so hard they could play. It almost felt like to me, and correct me if you think I'm wrong here, he did not believe that the opportunities for explosives would be created in this offense, and he had to make it himself. It felt like he went hero mode in a way where the constant refrain from this coaching staff has been, you don't got to be a hero, you just got to do enough.
Well, here's the thing, though. That's also on him.
Sure.
Because it's one of two things at this point with C.J. Stroud. And this is why, for the first time, even when there were bad moments, this is the first time I am looking at C.J. Stroud, and I don't know. I don't know if he has it in him to be a championship-level quarterback. It's one of two things. He's either emotionally fragile, and we saw it. We saw the look on his face in Pittsburgh and in New England. We saw the confusion, the lost look, the lack of confidence. We saw all of that. He's either emotionally fragile or he's not the teammate that he and others say he is. Because if he were, even though this may not be the best offense, the best approach, philosophy for him, he'd have not done the stupid-ass things he did. I'm sorry. They were freaking stupid. Everything that he should have done. Take the sack, man. Throw it in the dirt, man. Do this or do that. He wouldn't have done that if he were the teammate, and he would they say he is, and he says he is.
No, and I'm with you. I think that's what makes this more complex. It's not as simple as CJ is bad, because that would be wrong. We've seen CJ be a good quarterback.
Yeah.
We've seen CJ, at the very least, if you don't want to agree with that statement, we've seen CJ demonstrate a lot of, if not all of the pieces that would be necessary to be a good quarterback. When it's time for you to put it together, especially with the mental aspect of this, and I think that is the complexity that this organization has to contend with right now, as people are immediately jumping to the fifth-year option, the how do you handle the possibility of negotiation with contracts and all that. I think that is much more difficult than being able to go cut and dry, this guy isn't good. The idea is he has the pieces, but how do you pull it all together? And what's deeply frustrating is in a year where you've tried to make it as easy for him, it felt like he went and made it more difficult for himself.
Well, and then to make matters worse, he has that performance yesterday. The whole world, NFL football world, is watching. And so you start to think, okay, well, how does he bounce back? How does he come back? Well, I just said he's emotionally fragile or he's not a good teammate. Are either of those two things going to change after something like yesterday, which if you are emotionally fragile, is going to leave the kind of scar that lingers, is going to leave the kind of scar mentally and emotionally that is going to make you not rally, but maybe wither, you know?
You know what threw me off about this, though? Because you said maybe he's not the guy that people think he is. I forgot how you phrased it, Lopez.
He's not the championship level. For the first time, I'm wondering if he is.
The thing that really threw me off, and I don't think we talked about it as much, but after the Pittsburgh game, remember he was going in the tunnel, and fan was heckling him, and he said, "Aha, you mad?"
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of weird to me, man, because to me, he didn't have a type of game where I could be like, aha, you know.
Yeah.
And
you're not alone.
He followed, and he followed that game. Something don't seem right, man. It's one thing if you had your head down and you just ignore all of that stuff and you had some personal things going on.
Yeah.
But you got time to sit there and heckle a fan like that?
If he is going to come back from this, Reggie, he has to have it in him to be emotionally strong, able to get over it, build on it, buy back in, and be strong mentally. Has he shown us any of that?
That's tough because there's been small moments, but now I'm trying to hold on to flashes.
Yeah.
Small flashes and make them into the whole cloth. And I don't think that's a reasonable thing to do in this moment. Right? Like that's not a reasonable thing.
A lot of quarterbacks have flashes.
Yeah.
And that's the tough part about this. And some of just the general mentality. Like I think that there's ways that you can talk and make it sound good of, in fact, let's hear from CJ Stroud here, and maybe this will make you more mad, but you know what? It's a day to be mad, I guess. This is CJ Stroud when he was asked what was the cause for the uncharacteristic turnovers in this game.
I mean, I think just trying to make plays, trying to, push the ball down the field and, put our team in position to score. So my intent in it is never to get to do that, and sometimes it just doesn't go your way, and, that happened today, and I'll take full responsibility. Something I'm going to learn from is just, ball security is everything, especially, the way our defense has played all year. And it's something that I've done a pretty good job of, up to this point. So I'm going to continue to, get better in that area. And, I'm not happy with myself when it comes to that because, I'm giving from our team. And we have so many great players on our team, great, on offense, defense, special teams. And the way our defense played all year, I'm just very, I'm not happy with, that.
Lopez, one of the things for me is that I absolutely despise is the almost the Office-esque. I accept responsibility, but it only really happens in lip service because you brought up the Figgy, the Pittsburgh Steelers after the game pointing and laughing at the crowd saying, aha, you mad after a game in which you did not do enough to help that result be positive. That feels like, and then going in the post game and saying, it was, there were some bad plays, but I also still did some good things. This is where the feeling of accepting responsibility doesn't land.
Well,
especially not outside that building, but also like I know in the building they're like, hey, we defend our guy CJ or what have you, but that breaks at a point. I asked you guys in a text, do you feel like we might be reaching 2017 Jaguars? And if you remember, 2017 Jaguars were a team that went to the actual AFC Championship game. Goodness. I almost cussed on air. They went to the AFC Championship
They had a good
game.
defense.
They had a great defense, and Blake Bortles was out there messing stuff up. And that their defense broke themselves apart because they were tired of carrying the quarterback. And they're saying the right things, and this is a lot of saying the right things, whether it's C.J. Stroud saying, oh, man, I'll learn from this. I can't need to be – but this is a second game in a row when your team needs you to be right, where you were not right, and your defense put on a show. In this game. I think they did all that you could possibly expect in this game.
You mentioned one of the two things that jumps out from what we just heard from. I'm just trying to make big plays, take my shots. It's not what you're supposed to do right now. You're only supposed to do that when it's there, not throw the balls dead ass straight up in the air so somebody can take it.
He was throwing a punt.
He was throwing a punt. That is basic stuff. That was an insult to good football. And then the other thing that he said there is, I'm going to learn from it. When? How?
I think the issue I had with this answer right here, this answer would have been fine last week after the win.
6 or something.
This answer, he could have gave this answer last week after the win.
Yeah.
But he didn't. He pretty much said he had a few mistakes, but we won the game pretty much.
You had
I don't want to hear it now.
You had 4 interceptions in this game.
Exactly.
You had 4 interceptions in this game.
Could have been 5 or 6.
Could have been a lot more, and I'll give you the leeway on Xavier Hutchinson letting the ball bounce off his hands. Basically,
I don't know what was going on with them two. They wasn't on the same page at all.
Well, I mean, this is where you could talk about the fact that your 2 best receivers are out in this game. Your two best, maybe best, or at least most veteran offensive linemen end up being out at points in this game. And you can talk about all those other things. And we will talk about all those other things because it's not a singular circumstance that lost you this football game. But the big one that carries a lot of the weight is that C.J. Stroud was awful in this game. And that's going to be a hard thing to contend with because C.J. Stroud has been questionable at other points in the season, and he has not been able to get anywhere near or recapture the same heat that you were able to get in his rookie season. And that's problematic in this league. You can't have a quarterback long in his tenure. It's supposed to be, even if development isn't linear, it's supposed to be a general upward trend, and I can't say that of CJ right now.
And you talk about regressing, and we're going to get into more of this, but just the biggest thing for me with how emotionally broken and emotionally fragile he has become and is in this system and this offense and with this team is the easy throws he made look the hardest. The easy throws that he normally, quote-unquote ball placement specialist, which let's put that in the basement for a while.
You got to earn that one back. You got to win that one back from me.
Yeah,
this is like when your mama took away your Game Boy when you're being bad. No, you got to be good to get that one back, big dog.
He was the easiest throws he was making look different. That's the sign of a guy that is just shook completely, mentally broken.
And I think that the reason why I know that it's easy to go, CJ is soft. And maybe that's true at this point. Like, what do I have to be able to put against you if you want to say that? The thing that I think is more difficult is CJ is stubborn and unwilling to go with the plan. Like, because again, the ideas of I'm out here making plays, not really what we're being asked of you in those moments. The plays that were there to be made, cool, not manufacturing them out of whole cloth. And that is the thing that is most frustrating because a quarterback that is operating out of like almost dissent is one that's not going to be able to work with the larger construct of the team. And that's the thing that's more complex. Like, bad is one thing, and it's not going to be a good thing to deal with. It's not going to be anything that anybody is happy about. A quarterback that was almost insubordinate, which is not quite the word that I want.
No, I think you're right.
But just the game plan is the thing that is most complex because what causes you to get there? Because it doesn't feel like C.J. Stroud is normally that. But here you are with dealing with that on the larger stage in front of the host, right? And on the biggest stage that the Texans had and an opportunity to reach new ground. He particularly soiled himself, and that's tough to deal with.
Do you think Davis Mills could have possibly, if he was playing, could have won this game?
That is a question that we'll have to deal with, and we'll have to talk about because D'Amico Ryans never considered it, but there was a real possibility that was the right answer to make at points in this game. A lot of things to still talk about in what was a very, very frustrating. I feel myself yelling. I apologize. Let me walk this down.